It's exactly 9:15. I am standing in for Salila Makwadiri. This is News and Views. All right, we seem to be having a sound problem. My guest is standing by, and that is you, Matisse de Freitas, Secretary of the Wits PSC. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you too. It's lovely being here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, absolute pleasure. It's an important discussion we're going to have. And of course, it has to do with Israeli Apartheid Week. We do know that this is a tool for mobilizing grassroots support on the global level for the Palestinian liberation struggle against Israel's decades long regime of settler colonialism and apartheid. And of course, this support is absolutely strategic for the BDS campaigns and other pro-Palestinian groups. Let's understand what exactly is it that you guys at WITS are involved in, and are you seeing these type of initiatives taking traction in a big way and in a positive way?
Well, as the Wits PSC, we have this like incentive to show support for the Palestinian movement on campus to bring awareness to students. So what Israeli Apartheid Week is for us is like highlighting Palestinian self-determination, but also like the many nations suffering under oppression, persecution, and like humanitarian crisis is instigated by like neo-colonialism, but like specifically like within Israel and the highlighting like what what like settler colonialism looks like there and how it links back to the apartheid regime within South Africa. We have seen like a lot of traction with on campus when it comes to Israeli Apartheid Week. We hosted a rally last week Monday, which seemed to garner a lot of attention. People spoke there about like the atrocities occurring within Palestine, but also how this links to like the South African students, how this links to South Africa as a whole within like the the context of apartheid and beyond apartheid and the consequences that like apartheid had on South Africa and why this was important, why this is important for us as South Africans to show support to like the Palestinian cause because of the link of apartheid to this apartheid within Israel.
Do you find that by having these type of awareness campaigns on campus, and we also know that it is 21 years since the first Israeli Awareness Week event. This was at a university in Toronto in Canada. 21 years is a long time, maybe not long enough, maybe too long, I don't know. But to have created all of the awareness to rid the world of this type of oppression, not only in Palestine, but any other countries around the globe that, are subjected to persecution, oppression, suppression, etc., that we start becoming aware and start pushing back against these type of issues. And of course, corrupt governments that are in collusion with Israel.
I do agree that like for for like the large parts that like raising awareness and like garnering acknowledgement of the atrocities brings solidarity, brings people to the forefront of like supporting the cause. Because at the end of the day, like a major facet of what changes minds and what like instigates people into like supporting a regime, not a regime, supporting a cause is rather like letting them know the historical factors of it. And this is why like IAW is very important, especially on campuses. Like it it puts on like the public sphere like what this historical background of like the apartheid within Israel looks like and how like it's silencing like people's voices, and how it's not just about like the segregation of people, but rather it's about the power, law, violence, economic control, and like the enforcing of hierarchy that the West has seemingly done for a very long time. I think also to an extent, if we can change one student's minds, we can change many students' lives and many people's lives. Uh, University is a space in which your ideas and your values towards society grows. And I think like if we have this like if we show people the reality of what's going on within Israel, within the world, in Sudan, in Congo, in Swaziland, we can see that people are able to like better see the atrocities and more more solely like put their like heart into solidarity and like condemn what is happening within the world, because at the end of the day, this is not just a Palestinian issue, it's an everybody issue. And I think like the theme for this year of Israeli apartheid, Palestine frees us all, is very poignant in the fact of like highlighting that it's an everybody issue, not just one person, not just the Palestinian people, but everyone who's ever faced some sort of oppression from the West, or anyone who's experienced some sort of like backlash due to administration issues that are linked towards the West, especially within universities.
So, Matisse, how about the Wits PSC and other supporters of Wits PSC and these type of programs that you introduce? And not only at Wits, I should imagine this happens at campuses all around the world. I've just shared with our viewers and listeners that this Israeli Apartheid Week initiative has been going on for 21 years, and it was initiated by the University of Toronto in Canada, and long may it live. What about pushback by pro-Israeli students who maybe are not aware of the facts on the ground? So I'm more than certain there must be lots of students on campus who are pro-Israel, or who have leanings towards Zionism, and then push back against your organization, the PSC, and other such IAW initiatives on campus.
I, as the Wits PSC, we acknowledge that there's often a lot of pushback towards us due to like ties the university has, or like other clubs on campus that support Zionism. In this case, like we try to persevere as much as possible. We try to get our events done. And yes, there is pushback, but if we can show people that we can have the events besides this pushback, it's very important. I also think that like these Zionist students tend to use propaganda and their fundings to support their like events, and so they're more likely to get traction because they have the money to spend on their events, and like more funding to spend on the events from their like Zionist ties. However, as long as we show that we are still present on campus, that's the important part. Not letting this pushback like tie us down, not letting this pushback hold us back of having our events, because that's the important part. Showing up for our comrades, but also showing up for students who might not know the truth of the situation, who might have been fed propaganda, who might have this like narrative that isn't the true narrative of what the actual settler colonial state looks like, or um what the historical context of like Israel's apartheid looks like.
I'm fascinated to learn how you, Matisse, has become so conscientized before you entered university. Were you aware of all of these global events, and what was the turning point for you? From the way you speak with much passion, and I know that this means, means a lot to you and runs very deeply within your soul regarding injustice and very especially the Palestinian issue.
Mhm. So, as a child, my dad always taught me to be kind to everyone because strangers don't mean the worst. Like, strangers never mean the worst for you because they don't know you yet. But also, I think that's like ran true throughout my life. This factor of like, we have to be kind to everyone. We have to show solidarity with those who are suffering. Just because we aren't suffering ourselves, as like my family or like my close circle of friends, doesn't mean that other people aren't suffering. So that's what I've kept in my mind. And like, yes, university has helped me like flourish with my ideas of like, and my passion towards like humanity, my passion towards the injustices occurring around the world and in, not just in Palestine, all over the world. But I think this started at a like grassroots level of like my, well, at a level at the foundation level of my love for history, my love for reading. I think if someone is able to pick up a history book, if someone's able to read the literature of the past, one can see that like something like Israel's occupation in Palestine is unjust. If someone what's happening in Sudan shouldn't be happening, and it's only happening because of the West's influence, because of Emirati influence within Sudan. And I think like that's a very important like
And of
part of what
course,
has made me who I am.
and of course, we do know that the Emirati interference in Sudan is all about their raw materials, their minerals, etc. So the Emiratis want to get their hands on Sudan's gold and other precious minerals. And it's very reassuring to see that young people like yourself are active on campuses, because you're right, it's at university where you start realizing there's a bigger world out there, and it starts forming your personality and your ideas about the future of the world and politics. So good on you and the PSC. Let's talk about all of the events. I think it started a week ago, am I right? The IAW events. You have indicated it's been well attended. Is it also time where you are trying to get more students involved with with the group, the pro-Palestinian group, and to create more awareness and to also add strength to organizations like the BDS?
This is a time that we try to get as many people involved and enlightened on what the PSC stands for and its broader connection to BDS and other organizations. I think like for a large part, our events had to be hosted before actual Israeli Apartheid Week started, due to the fact that like Wits is now on a break. But we still didn't let that stop us. We hosted an Iftar and Shabbat, which helped link people to like link both Christians, Jewish people, Muslims to the cause of like to like the situations happening in Palestine, and showing that we're actually not all that different at all, and that we share the same like responsibilities towards humanity. Then after that, we hosted a teaching, and that was fairly successful. It was linking Sheikh Jarrah to Sharpeville, which also highlighted really how truly linked the Palestinian struggle is to the South African struggle, and how oppression and how we have how they have similar systems of operating, no matter how extreme on each end they might be. Then after that, we hosted a film screening, which had quite a few people show up to, and this helped like people like socialize within like the Palestinian space, within the PSC space, but also see artwork from Palestinian directors and like actors on their perspective of the Palestinian struggle and how it like the from Nakba to now to the present day, we have seen hope remain within the Palestinians people's hearts and soul. Then our final event for Israeli Apartheid Week was a rally. And at this rally, we saw an extreme turnout. We saw people from BDS come, people from Wits come and talk about their perspective on Israeli Apartheid Week, their perspectives on how this links to the campuses, because that's a major aspect of IAW this year. It's how it links back to campuses and to student struggles, because at the end of the day, one struggle is everyone's struggle. And so I think that was a major event on garnering attention to the PSC and to BDS as a whole.
I like what you said about, linking the Palestinian struggle with the South African apartheid struggle. You also mentioned a Sharpeville Day, which we know happened on Saturday past. It used to be called Sharpeville Day in the past, but it is now called Human Rights Day. And these are opportunities where we can really highlight struggles of the past and align it with struggles to the present. Very, very important. And young people need to be aware of it and need to be continually conscientized around these issues, because if not, we'll be looking to a very weak, bleak, and broken global system going forward. It'll be very, very one-sided. So hats off to people like yourself that is so committed to these type of struggles. Please keep that flag really flying as high as you can. Let's look at the issue around the funders of WITS. We do know lots of funders are Jewish. I'm not saying that they're necessarily Zionists,
Mhm.
but does that create a problem regarding funding for students? Is there perhaps admin kind of coming down on students saying, please back off because there's a possibility that the funding will dry up? Is that something you guys have come across? And how do you feel about a situation like that?
I think in the recent years, we've been seeing progress with the institution. And I think that progress is very important. I think also, to an extent, yes, the university continues to have Jewish ties, but as well as Zionist ties. There's a Starbucks on campus, and obviously we do see like some backlash from the university. That's only natural, but in a environment that has ties towards Israeli funders, but also towards Jewish funders in the space. What I think is important is acknowledging that that we need to work around this backlash. We need to try and conscientize the university into understanding that this isn't what South Africa is meant to be. We're not meant to show solidarity to other apartheid regimes like what's happening in Israel. And I believe there's a petition going around that's trying to like remove the link of South African universities um to oppressive like regimes like in Israel, like in the like Emirati institutions, because like there's still this collaboration that occurs, and so this petition's trying to break off that collaboration, break off those links to these states, these oppressive states, to these imperial states, and create like a environment where students aren't like students' funds, students' school fees aren't going towards like these these systems of like oppression and apartheid links.
Okay, I think that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you indeed. And congratulations on a very successful IAW week. And undoubtedly, your work doesn't stop now, does it? It's just absolutely ongoing. So you keep that flag flying as high as you can. Lovely talking with you, and all the very best. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for having me. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you as well. 9:36 exactly. We're into our final interview of the morning. And of course, that is an important one as well. We're going to be talking with Zahele Madela, Executive Director of the South African Energy Forum. And the big question around Eskom profits surging. Listen to this carefully. Eskom profits surging despite falling sales as tariff hikes hammer you and I as consumers.